Hey everybody, I'm your name and welcome back to the shop. Today we're diving deep into the world of lean manufacturing, specifically tackling the 7 wastes. Now, whether you're a seasoned manufacturer or just starting, understanding these wastes is crucial for boosting efficiency and, you know what, saving some bucks along the way. Think of these wastes as those gremlins in a complex machine, the ones that gum up the works and slow everything down. We're talking about those sneaky inefficiencies that eat into your time, your resources, and ultimately your bottom line. But here's the good news. Once you can identify these productivity vampires, you can start eliminating them. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break down each of these 7 wastes, giving you the know-how to spot them in your own processes. We'll dissect what they are, why they're so detrimental, and most importantly, how to kick them to the curb. Stick around, because this is about to get very interesting. First up, we've got waiting. And let me tell you, this one's a real productivity killer. Picture this, your production line's humming along and then BAM! Everything grinds to a halt because a critical component is MIA. That's waiting in action. Inconsistent work methods, yep, they'll do it. Long changeovers between processes, absolutely. Unbalanced production lines where one station is overwhelmed while another twiddles its thumbs, you betcha. And don't even get me started on too many handoffs, resource bottlenecks, or my personal favorite, poor project management. These are all prime suspects in the case of the vanishing productivity. And here's the thing about waiting, it's not just frustrating, it's downright expensive. Every minute your resources are idle, every hour your production is stalled, that's money literally evaporating into thin air. But don't worry, we'll get into the how-tos of banishing waiting later. Just remember, time is money and every second counts. Next up is overproduction, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Making more than you need when you need it. Now, you might think, what's wrong with having a little extra on hand? Well, let me tell you, overproducing is like stuffing your workshop with projects you'll never finish. It's clutter, plain and simple. Incapable processes where you're churning out products faster than the market demands are a surefire way to end up with a surplus. Communication breakdowns between departments, recipe for disaster. When your business development folks are out there drumming up more orders than your production team can handle, you're heading straight for overproductionville. And don't get me started on relying too heavily on forecasts. Forecasts are great, but they're not crystal balls. Banking on them too much can lead to warehouses full of unsold goods. Then there's the issue of unbalanced material flow, where you might have too much of one component and not enough of another. All of this boils down to wasted resources, wasted space, and ultimately wasted money. Overproduction is like a manufacturing hangover. It's the painful consequence of poor planning and execution. Now, let's talk about rework and defects. Look, we've all been there. You're working on a project, you hit a snag, and you need to backtrack. That's just part of the process, right? Well, when it comes to manufacturing, rework and defects are more than just a minor inconvenience. They're a major drain on your resources. Incapable processes, those that haven't been refined and optimized, are breeding grounds for errors. Weak quality control measures mean that faulty products can slip through the cracks only to be discovered later at a much higher cost. Insufficient training? Well, that's like handing someone a power tool without any instructions. Accidents are bound to happen. Then there's inadequate tools and equipment. Trying to do a high-precision job with dull tools is like trying to cut a steak with a butter knife. It's just not going to end well. And of course, we can't forget about the mishandling of parts. Dropping, scratching, or otherwise damaging components during production leads to rework, or worse, scrapping the entire thing. Rework and defects are all about wasted time, wasted materials, and the frustration of having to do the same job twice. But fear not, because by addressing the root causes, we can minimize these costly mistakes. Chapter 4, Motion, Efficiency in Every Movement. Hold on tight because we're tackling motion next. And no, I'm not talking about the laws of physics. I'm talking about the unnecessary movement of people and materials within your workspace. It's about those extra steps your workers take, those awkward reaches, those inefficient layouts that have everyone doing the manufacturing equivalent of a contortionist act. An improper layout, where workstations are poorly organized or spaced too far apart, is a recipe for wasted motion. And speaking of organization, a lack of it is like a wrench in the gears of efficiency. When tools aren't readily accessible, when materials are scattered about, people waste precious time searching instead of doing. Inconsistent work methods, where every worker has their own way of doing things, can also lead to unnecessary motion. It's like having everyone in your kitchen following a different recipe. Chaos. And let's not forget about large batch sizes. While it might seem efficient to produce a mountain of products at once, it can actually lead to more movement and handling as those products are moved, stored, and eventually shipped out. Remember, efficiency is about working smarter, not harder. By optimizing your workspace and processes, you can eliminate wasted motion and keep things flowing smoothly. Chapter 5. Overprocessing. Working smarter, not harder. Get ready to dive into the often overlooked waste of overprocessing. This one's all about doing more than is necessary to get the job done. Think of it like using a sledgehammer to crack a nut. Sure, you'll get the job done, but at what cost? One of the biggest culprits here is the inappropriate use of technology. Now, I love a good gadget as much as the next person, but sometimes simpler is better. Using a high-tech, expensive machine for a task that could be done just as effectively with a simpler tool is a classic example of overprocessing. Then there's the issue of decision-making at the wrong levels, when lower-level employees have to constantly seek approval for every little thing. It creates bottlenecks and slows down the entire process. Ineffective policies and procedures, those bureaucratic nightmares that bog everyone down in paperwork and red tape, are also major contributors to overprocessing. And of course, we can't forget about poor communication of customer requirements. If you're not 100% clear on what the customer wants, you risk adding unnecessary steps and features, ultimately wasting time and resources. Remember, the goal is to deliver value to the customer, and sometimes that means keeping things simple and streamlined. Chapter 6. Inventory, the necessary evil, or is it? All right, let's talk about inventory. Now, I know what you're thinking. Adam, inventory is essential. We can't just get rid of it entirely. We need a certain amount of inventory to keep things running smoothly. But here's the thing. Excess inventory is like that pile of tools in the corner of your workshop. You might need them someday, but in the meantime, they're taking up valuable space and collecting dust. Overproduction is one of the biggest drivers of excess inventory. If you're making more than you can sell, that surplus has to go somewhere. Inventory ties up capital, takes up space, and can become obsolete. The key is to find that sweet spot, having enough inventory to meet demand without tying up too much capital. Chapter 7. Intellect, untapped potential, wasted opportunity. Finally, we come to the most insidious waste of all intellect. This one's not about physical objects or processes, but about something far more valuable. The untapped potential of your workforce. It's about ignoring the ideas, the insights, the creativity of the people who know your business best, your employees. When we fail to create a culture where suggestions are encouraged and valued, we're essentially throwing away a goldmine of potential improvements. A sound system for evaluating and implementing employee suggestions is crucial for capturing this valuable resource. Think about it. Your employees are on the front lines. They see the inefficiencies, the bottlenecks, the areas where things could be done better. They're the ones who are wrestling with those clunky processes day in and day out. Who better to offer solutions than the people who are closest to the problem? Failing to tap into the intellect of your workforce is like trying to build a rocket ship with only half the engineers. You might get something off the ground, but it's not going to reach its full potential. Outro: leaner, meaner, more efficient. So there you have it, the 7 wastes of lean manufacturing. We've covered a lot of ground, from the idle time of waiting to the untapped potential of intellect. Remember, these wastes are like energy vampires, silently sucking the life out of your productivity and profitability. But here's the good news. Now that you know what to look for, you can start identifying and eliminating these wastes in your own processes. Take a walk around your workspace, observe your workflows, and ask yourself, are there any steps that could be eliminated? Are there any bottlenecks that are causing delays? Are we utilizing the full potential of our workforce? If you're serious about improving efficiency, reducing costs, and boosting your bottom line, then tackling these 7 wastes is non-negotiable. So get out there, start analyzing, and watch as your manufacturing processes transform into lean, mean, efficiency machines. And hey, if you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel for more manufacturing insights, and leave a comment down below with your own waste-busting tips.